Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And one of the most anticipated segments of the event is coming up right now with Joe Lockard from AutoMax Recruiting and Training. And this is affectionately known as the Technician Panel. Our title today is Effective Interviewing Automotive Technicians and Their Techniques. Joe Lockard, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Yeah, thanks, Ted. This is number 4, huh? I'm really enjoying myself. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, my pleasure. You're a fan favorite along with the people on this panel. You got, quite an all-star team here, Joe.
Yeah, it's a good group, and I think we have a good topic for today. And going to dig in a little bit, throw around some strategies, some ideas, have some fun, and see if we can't solve a few problems.
Great. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to step off to the side, and Joe, the show is all yours.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And thanks again for everyone joining us here today for another edition of the Fixed Ops Roundtable Technician Panel. Like I said, we have some good stuff to get through today. We're going to talk a little bit about interviewing and kind of, I guess you could say, qualifying, screening technicians. Before we get into all that, as always, I want to go around the room and introduce the panel. We have some incredibly talented individuals with us here today. Without further ado, Tully Williams, I'm going to start with you. Tully is the Fixed Operations Director for the Nilo Company. Tully, how are things in your world?
Fantastic. Coming off a beautiful month. We're mid-May. Life is good. We're celebrating 101 years with the Nilo Company. We're super excited for 2022. Good,
man. Good. It's always a pleasure having you. Thanks. Up next, Sean Kingery. Sean is Director of Fixed Operations for the Step One Automotive Group. My friend, Sean Kingery, how are you today?
Good, Joe. Thank you very much again for having myself and having all of us on the panel. Again, definitely done a few of these panels and definitely get one of the bigger and larger feedbacks from this panel. It's from this group of people that are right here.
Good, man. Yeah, it's obviously we're hitting on something that's a pressing need throughout the industry, but I like to think we have a little fun and help some people along the way, and you're a part of it. So thanks for joining us. Ann Lister is next. Ann is the service manager for the Williams Auto Group in New York. How are you today, Ann?
Hey, I'm great, Joe. Thanks for having me. This is always a fun time with this great panel. Super excited to be here.
Good. I understand it's sunny and beautiful in New York right now.
Oh, absolutely. Upstate New York is great. Not as great as some of you. I don't want to hear it, but yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, I think me and you and Robert are the only people that freeze our butts off into May, so that's a lot of fun.
And into June, too.
Into June, yeah, why not? Yeah, well, thanks for joining us, Ann. And Robert, I'll come to you next. Robert is CEO and lead diag tech for Stage 1 Mobile Diagnostics and Auto Repair, and he's coming from my home state, Ohio. How are you today, sir?
Not bad, Joe. Thanks again for having me back on. Appreciate everybody showing up for these panels. This is the 4th one that I've been on and had the pleasure of coming on. I'd like to thank Marco for inviting me in the beginning and thank Ted for extending his hand to have me come on. Really appreciate it. Have a good time.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And we appreciate having your kind of unique perspective on everything. Thanks for being here again. Next is Mike Weldon. Mike is Fixed Ops Director for the Hansel Auto Group. Mike, how are you, sir?
Just fine. Thank you for inviting me back. I'm 40 years younger than Tully. We've only been in business for 60 years. And boy, do I look like it. And I'm glad to be part of this committee.
Yeah, thanks for being here, man. And I've had the honor of working with both your guys' groups, and I know you both do it the right way. And I know we talked a little bit about your culture and your mission statement last time. I actually want to get into it a little bit today, a little bit more. And thanks for being here. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Last and certainly not least is our good friend Marco Oswandenberg. Marco is an all-star technician for Naples Luxury Imports. How are you, my friend?
I am doing great in sunny Southwest Florida on the Paradise Coast, my friends. Yeah, how are you guys doing today?
Good. We see it. How's the photography game going? You're building some chops down there, man. You might have a second career on your hands.
It just comes naturally, seriously, and no pun intended. But the sunsets here are just absolutely amazing, and I can see them from my backyard, so that's even better. I'm loving it.
Good for you. Good for you. All right. So like I said, as always, we have a lot to get to, and I want to make sure everybody has a chance to share. So I'm going to jump right in. This is the 4th one that this particular group has done together. We've talked about a number of things. We went way in depth on flat rate pay and some of the challenges that's creating within the industry. Then we came with some solutions or alternatives possibly to flat rate pay. Last time we talked about, retention and making sure at a minimum you're keeping the good techs that you have and treating them the right way and checking with them and making them feel like a valuable part of the team. I want to go maybe a step forward here, and we were joking around, all of us discussing even finding technicians. So let's just assume in some magical world here, maybe you worked with AutoMax Recruiting, I don't know, but you did find some technicians that are qualified and are interested in what you're providing, the opportunity that you're providing. So, what do we do from there? Where do we go from there? How do we get them in? How do we interview them? How do we make sure it's a good fit for everybody? The reason I chose this and I felt we could add some real value to the industry and possibly help some people out is I've found in our experience, and we've been recruiting for 25 years and we recruit for all different positions, that technician is basically just a total 180. You can take all the interviewing etiquette techniques and all the stuff you learn and, hey, here's the right way to do it. Here's what a candidate should and shouldn't do. And you can kind of throw that stuff out the window when it comes to technicians. And it's just a big departure from standard screening, standard interviewing process. So I always love to hear what you guys are doing at the store level. And then, of course, Marco, I want to hear from you and what, you value and what you'd like to hear during an interview process, some of the questions you might have during an interview process. But I want to start there. And of course, all this starts before they even get in the door, because I'm sure as all of you know, and we know as a recruiting company, sometimes that's the challenge in and of itself. You find somebody, they're good, they say they're interested, and for the life of you can't even get them to sit down with you and have a conversation. So I do want to start with that as kind of the first step. And Marco, I'm going to save you for last this week, my friend. This time around, I think I let you lead off last time because I wanted to get the tech's perspective on what you value. I'd like to go around to all our other, automotive service industry leaders here, hear what you guys have going on, and then Marco, you can kind of give us some feedback on, good, bad, and otherwise in regard to what we're doing and what we could possibly do better. Tully, I want to start with you. How do you guys handle technician interviewing? Is it same as, do you just have a process and, hey, this is the process everyone's going to go through no matter, what the position is? Is it a complete departure from the normal screening and interviewing process? Just get them in the door. What's kind of the way you guys go about it when you're finally, talking at least with a skilled technician?
Well, the great news is the whole thing is getting the interview set up in the first place, right? So great companies like yourself out there trying to make those leads out there so we get those contacts, because the goal is, did we get a contact to contact? And if we get them on the hook and get them to come in, one thing we want to talk about is the first thing when they walk in the door is we want to walk them through the store. They don't care about the sales department at all. They care about the back shop. And if your back shop is a bunch of dump, and it's not going to look attractive. So, as your shop clean, right? We want to bring them in, take them through the back, have them take a look. But the next piece is going to be is that we want to make sure that the interview is solid. The interview means something. And also talk about the company that you work for. We have been blessed that we've been in business for 101 years, and culture to us is everything. We would not be in business for 101 if we were not taking care of our customers. So one is we're going to talk about what makes us different at Nilo. And the next is, do they have a pathway to make it? If they come in as a beginner tech, if we're interviewing someone from maybe a trade school or a community college coming in, we want to show them the pathway here at the Nilo company to talk about what they are doing, where they can go, and how much money they can make for them and their family. Money is not everything, but it's an awful lot. But, if they come in, you have the foreman, you're going to have probably maybe a technician that's a lead tech. You're going to have the service manager, the parts manager, and maybe the GM if he's there. If we're all in the room together and tell them why the best place to work is here, we're going to get a much better reaction. And two is that we also get a better read on a qualified technician. So culture and pathway is our key.
Nice. Okay. I'm going to go around to everybody here, but you've already hit on a theme that I'm going to come back to at the end that I think I'm going to keep hearing from all you guys. But I think the walk around is a great idea. I think that's huge. And we hear that a lot from technicians. You said it yourself, where everything sounds good, the pace sounds good. They get on site and they walk around, and if it's a dump, a good technician's out of there. I mean, that's the last time you're going to see them. So I think those are great starting off points and a great way to present your guys, present yourselves in the best light possible, show them what you're all about, and hopefully lead to an actual hire. Sean, I want to go over to you next here, and I believe we spoke about this on the last panel, and you guys, I gave the example, and you can run with it if you want to, but we worked with you, and you really rolled out the red carpet for a top level technician for a fly-in interview. And, you know, as you and I both know, it didn't lead to an actual hire. But I mean, it was the type of treatment that you really, you know, usually reserve for top level management positions. Mm-hmm. And you guys were doing this for a you know, key level OEM tech. You know, I'm assuming it's that maybe on a smaller scale, but is that kind of the norm for you guys when you're dealing with top talent, or, you know, what's kind of a general process for you guys once you get them in the door, or to get them in the door?
You know, Joe, it's almost, I think, and I'm going to give Marco some shout outs here in a minute again, like I always do, but it's almost more now for technicians than even a service manager or service director or parts manager, because to be very honest with you, they're more valuable. I can put an ad on Career Builder or whatever job search engine you want, and I'll get 50 responses for a service manager. Put a tech out there. Good luck. Okay. And we all know that. No, it's true. And Tully and I manage a lot alike. You know, we roll out all the red carpet. Yes, we do the walkthrough. Yes, every person in the entire dealership, should they need to, they're going to meet the parts manager. They're going to meet the shop foreman. They're going to meet the lead tech. They're going to meet everybody, because I want them to know the culture we have, because it is all about culture. I think it's a very overused word, but it's truly a thing. I want them to know why would they leave where they're at, you know? And again, here goes Marco's shout out that I keep giving him to him. You know, the last session that we had changed my mindset, where it's not about money. We know it's not about money. Anybody's paying whatever the dollar amount is now. It's what you can offer that's different, whether that's the 3-day work week or the 4-day work week or whatever that case is. But we do go out, and you're right, that gentleman who we couldn't hire because his wife had a medical condition, but we do that for every technician that comes in the door. And again, I'm a fixed ops director at a corporate office. If we're interviewing an A technician, I can tell you 99% of the time I'm involved in the interview. Not because I'm the best closer in the world. I want them to know that I'm not some guy in an ivory tower, or nobody here is. And as you know, our dealer principal, Fernando, he spent 2 hours with that candidate. I mean, anybody and everybody, that's how valuable technicians are now versus where they were before.
Right. And you know, you being present for those interviews, you being involved in those interviews, that one of the, you know, again, maybe number 2 thing I hear from technicians when it doesn't all come together is, I wasn't impressed with the service manager. I wasn't impressed with leadership. I wasn't impressed with management. I sat and waited for 15 minutes. It starts from the initial point of contact. You have to be putting on your best face and you know, showing why you guys, again, are where they should be from get-go. So I felt it when we worked with you, and I had a feeling it's about how you handled all the text. So thank you, Sean. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm coming to you next. What are maybe some challenges you guys have faced? And I can certainly sit here and speak to them. And I know I kind of feel your guys' pain, because we, you know, go through a lot of the same stuff you guys do. Maybe, you know, let's assume you've communicated with the tech. You have someone who says they're interested. What are some challenges you guys usually have to overcome before you can, you know, get to a potential hire stage?
So it's tricky in our area because we have so many dealerships and independents around us. So to get them to come in, that's number one. So they come in front of us. And so we are selling ourselves, but I'm looking for them to sell themselves as well. Because let's be honest, we come to an agreement, we hire them, we bring them on, spend a lot of time, energy, and money training them because they look great on paper. And then all of a sudden they get into our shops and we're like, oh, where was my person I interviewed? So number one, yes, you know, the first thing we do is take them around again. We show them, you know, the building. We introduce them to people. We show them the culture. But I also ask a lot of questions of them. You know, why are you looking? What do you know about our company? Here's our mission statement. Do you believe in this? What are your expectations? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because if I'm going to invest in you, I need you to invest in us. So it's very, very tricky. Yes, we want to bring them on board, and I don't want to be desperate. I don't like to hire out of desperation because we've gotten burned so many times. So I feel like getting them in the door is, yes, hard, but then learning about them. How do you overcome, objections? We've introduced a new process, and my technicians, some of them are on board, some of them aren't. So I always say to them, what do you do if you don't agree with management? How do you handle that? Are you willing to try things? Are you willing to be flexible? So it's definitely culture. It's not so much about money, but is it a good fit for them and for us? Because again, it's a lot of time, energy, and money to get them in and get them trained.
Right. It's interesting. So I was wondering how long it would take to get to that side of it, because when I'm deciding, hey, what are we going to talk about? I was going to say, hey, let's talk about screening and interviewing, and I'm like, man, as it got to the point that it's more just a pitch. It's just, hey, here's what we offer, here's what we offer, here's what we offer, and you were the first one to hit on. I want to know what they're bringing, and that this is actually someone that we want to be a part of the team. And as a recruiting company, we're always in a unique spot, because for us, it's get them in, get them in, get them in. But then I think once you do have them in, to, like you said, slow down, take a step, ask them some questions, and make sure it's the right fit for everybody, so that you're not right back in the same situation in 30 days is a good measure to take.
Yeah, don't hire out of desperation, because I think we've all gotten burned by that. And yes, we are desperate for technicians, but we don't want to seem desperate. We want to seem like it is their pleasure, it is their honor to work for us, and here's why. So then why should it be my honor to have you work for me? Sell yourself to me.
Right. It's a fine line. It is a balancing act. We feel it on our side too. Very good. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, Robert, I'm coming to you. And I mentioned at the beginning here that you kind of, as a mobile shop owner, you kind of bring a unique perspective with your own set of challenges. I'm thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I was brainstorming. I'm like, man, Robert might have a big advantage here. You can go to them, because you're not sitting in a service department for the most part all day. You're out in the field a lot. Has that provided any advantage to you, to be able to say, hey, I'll come to you, I'll come find you, you don't have to come in, we can meet wherever you're at?
It definitely has, Joe. And one of the other things that I always used to do was I used to actually go onto the tool truck sometimes, because if anyone knows who's disgruntled, who's upset, or anyone that's looking for a job in the technician business, it's going to be your local tool guy that's on that tool truck. Wow. So usually that can be a pretty good resource to use. And then I agree with some of the people on the board that taking people out of the normal area, like taking them into the shop is great, but I used to like doing an actual lunch somewhere off site, and I would at least do an hour just getting to know who they were. Because if you start it that way, it's completely opposite of the desperate pitch, or I really need you, that type of thing. You're just having a conversation. And if you just boil it down to a conversation with just another human being, A, it really takes them off. And B, you get to talk to them about something that's not technical. It's not about the cars. It's not about, the RO counts. It's not about your best RO that you've ever put together. You get to know about that person. So I think that really helps. And in my position, if I'm out there looking for somebody, I'm going to have to really spend the extra money to make sure that I get someone so I can clone myself. There's a really good book called The E-Myth Revisited, and it talks about being a technician as opposed to moving from that position and giving it to someone else so you can actually run your business. I'm in that boat. I have to find somebody that can be the service writer, can be the manager. I don't need a phone call every 25 minutes about, hey, what do I do in this scenario? Right. What do I do if X happens? I can't, I don't have the time during the day to do that, because I am doing the billing, the estimating, the parts, picking up, the parts ordering. I don't have the luxury of doing that. So I think, go ahead. I think the tool trucks.
That's interesting. I'd never thought of that. Your guys are more forward facing. So it's not that personality doesn't matter at all with an OEM tech, but you sometimes have to look the other way on a few things and, hey, just make sure this guy's not going to come in and blow up the entire shop. Whereas your guys are wearing multiple hats, and you have to make sure they're not going to create more headaches than solve problems.
Right.
Interesting. All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, Mike, I'm wrapping up with you, and then we're going to Marco here. Mike, we spoke at the beginning about your mission statement, that we went into in detail a little bit last time, and the culture that yourself and David Long have worked hard to instill there. I'm assuming that's something that you lean on pretty heavily, both in regard to, qualifying, if you will. And then, of course, as we've all talked about, the pitch of hey, here's who we are. Here's why you want to be a part of this. Is that a big part from, an intangible standpoint? I know we all keep hitting on the money's got to be there. The money's got to be there. Here's what makes us different. Is that usually a pretty big differentiator for you guys?
Well, I think the first thing, you can always have a pitch, but if you can live up to that pitch.
Right.
And most technicians are pretty savvy. They can read through it. And we're pretty savvy as how we can read through the people. I think the first thing you have to do, the first thing you have to look at is try to retain the techs that you have. That way you don't get into that position where, oh my God, I got to find someone now I got one guy that left that was one of the top techs in the world. And now I got to replace him with 3 because I've got to make up for what I lost. So, living our philosophy, if that's the best way to put it, is the best way to approach an applicant when they come in. You've got to be sincere. And I try not to call it a pitch because I'm not selling cars.
Right.
I'm trying to make people feel comfortable when they're interviewing that, hey, we're people, you're a person, you have a personal life, we have a business life, you have a need for income. How do we put this together?
Right.
I always ask somebody when they sit down with me, and one is once they know who I am, then I ask them, okay, what are your goals? What's your 1 year, your 2 year, and your 5 year goals? Because if I really truly don't understand you as a person, I can't help direct you in that direction that you want to go. And it's a very interesting conversation that you end up with, because now it's more personal. Hey, this guy's interested in me, not in the fact that I'm bringing my tools into the shop. He wants to know about me and what my needs are. Then I lay out our 4-tier process and how we get that individual, if he's not a journeyman, how we get him to a journeyman state, or how we get him to a master state. And then you talk about family, because family balance is very important. So you make sure that they understand that I get really excited when they can take their family on a vacation. I get really excited when they buy a house for their family. And once they see that human side of you, it kind of takes that barrier down. Then you can talk about the other things. You can talk about economics. You can talk about their needs. So I think it's just getting to know somebody. It's like going out on a date. I guess that's the best way to say it.
As soon as Ann started talking about desperation, it's the first thing I thought of. And I've been married for 10 years now, so I got to really adjust my brain to think about dating in general. But when, women could smell desperation. I always noticed that when I was dating. I was like, oh man, they know when you're desperate, and then it's just over. It's done. So I think the slow play is a real good roadmap. Like, you guys have all hit on here. Let's take some time. Let's get to know each other as human beings, and the intangibles, the subjective stuff. And then you get more into the objective stuff and talking shop, if you'll excuse the pun. So I agree. I think that's probably the best way to go about. All right, so Marco, I'm coming to you, my friend. You're our resident, tech expert here, and we always love to hear from you. You've kind of heard what everyone has to say. I critique, don't critique. I really just want to get your perspective on it. And obviously, I know you've been where you're at for a while, and we've talked about what's led you there and how they made you feel different there. And we can certainly talk about that again, and you can revisit some of those things, because I'm sure that started from day one during the interview. As a technician, what are you looking for? What are some of the questions you're asking when you're considering making a change?
Well, first of all, as a technician, I'm not talking about Joe Smell who fixed a lawnmower once. Now I'm talking about certified, real experienced technician. Why would I want to haul my $300,000 plus of tools into your company? You're a dime a dozen. Each and every one of you is a dime a dozen. I have my pick. I have my choice. But hearing from each and every one of you, Robert brought up to take someone out to lunch, take them out of that environment. As I've said before, technicians are people. We're not just workhorses. Talk to us on a normal human being level. Talk about sports. You're not into sports, talk about something else. Some techs are really into cars, some don't. Like myself, I've learned to hate them after 26 years, but I'm good at fixing them. Mike had a great point there about retention. If you walk a technician through the shop and as a manager you show up and everybody flees, I see that as a problem. And my first red flag is if I am not allowed to talk to technicians. I don't want to be sitting in your office looking at the screen that you just pulled up of your best technician, because every company has their cyborg and their clown. Their hours are like, you can't even, some guys flag 3,000-4,000 hours a year, some maybe even 1,000. Show me an average. If I'm not allowed to talk to a technician, I'm out.
All right.
I'm out. Then the onboarding is very important. Not just don't just wow me, for the interview, but where do you leave me? Like was mentioned before, like where was the guy that interviewed me?
Yeah. You're teasing our next session. I considered combining interviewing in with the onboarding process. Onboarding process, I've seen with technicians become such an issue. I'm like, we're doing an entire panel. So we are going to get into that next time because it's important and I see it falling through the cracks.
Perfect. Especially from people that move from out of state or even long distance from an interstate. Onboarding is very important.
Agreed.
What I have noticed, and I've mentioned this before, money isn't everything. It's a big deal. No one works for free, but how do you treat me? How do you treat the other people? What is your plan for me? What is my plan for you? It's a very fair question to ask. Like Anne said, I'm going to invest in you. What do you have to give back to me?
Yeah.
And of course, in a perfect world scenario, everything that was said during an interview is true. I was at Mercedes-Benz for 8 years. I was a team leader. I led one of the best teams in the company. And all of a sudden, here comes this new guy. I kid you not, I had this guy once come walking in. I thought it was his lunchbox. It was his tools. I'm like, and management just throws them at me. I'm like, I've asked and asked and asked. Can the people that have to work with this person be part of the interview process?
Yeah.
Now, when I started at Naples Luxury Imports, my life situation had changed a little bit, so I looked for flexibility. They were the only company that I talked to, and I've talked to many of them, that were willing to work with that. And that for me was a big deal. Again, here was the flexibility, here was the culture, here, as off screen, as you can see, was the money. I'll make it work. So that was extremely important to me.
Yeah. Interesting. And look, like I said, this one could have went on for a long time. I'm kind of bummed we only have 30 minutes for this one, but I knew the one theme we'd keep coming back to, and Marco, you just hit on it, where it does become a supply and demand thing, where techs have options. You have to differentiate yourself. So it is a bit unique or extremely unique compared to most other positions within a dealership, within a shop, to where, yes, it's important that this person has value. You have to establish that they're going to come in and they're going to, improve your shop and put you in a better position than you were before they started. But once you've established that baseline level of this is a valuable candidate, you do have to give them the reasons why. And I'm again always interested to hear what some of those reasons are, because as a recruiting company, ours are, it's more hook stuff. We have a real short amount of time to get the point across, and our job is to just get them in, get them that little taste of, hey, here's something you might like, or find their pain point, address the pain point, and then get them in. But it's interesting to hear the deep dive that you guys go into, as far as, first making sure they actually are who they say they are and have value, but then how do we differentiate ourselves? Real quick, I know we got to wrap up, but I just want to wrap around real quick. Our job is always to make as few hurdles as possible, reduce that time from I'm interested to I'm in for an interview. We hear a lot of, can we start with a phone interview? Where's everybody land on phone interviews? If I could just real quick, good, bad, otherwise, I know it's not ideal. and even Marco, what are you guys' thoughts on phone interviews?
Hate 'em.
I would say, why not? It is your first point of contact.
Yeah,
If I can talk,
the text says why not, and
I say hate them. I want to look somebody in the eye when I talk to them. I don't
it depends,
want to be on
Robert.
the phone.
If you're hiring me you're in Ohio, you're hiring me from out of Florida.
Well, yeah,
I want to talk to you first, but
Sure.
then we're at least doing what we're doing now.
Zoom,
correct.
right.
We're on video.
I
Zoom is fine.
Right.
I Zoom with technicians. That way I can see them, they can see me.
Absolutely.
I'll take any avenue that they're willing to do, to be very honest with you. If it
Right,
generates a conversation so I can communicate with them, I'm all about communication, guys.
Right. And heck, that's where we land on even the before we get them to you guys process of if they want to conduct this entire conversation via text message because they're working, let's do it. We'll sit there and text message interview and screen with you. It's just getting to that engagement, but we know at some point there's got to be the face-to-face. Like, like the example that I keep giving, Sean, there were conversations with that gentleman before you guys decided to fly him in and take him to dinner. So as a starting off point, I was just curious if it's become acceptable, because I know, again, at most positions, not ideal and almost a non-starter. No, you got to come in for a face-to-face.
Joe, I think the issue is that we just have to learn to communicate any way they want to communicate. Start the conversation, because it could be 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. But if we keep in contact with that person and build that relationship, you bring them in and then you give them the love.
You bet. Build that pipeline. Keep them.
Listen, guys, we're building a relationship. We didn't all just go from asking, this girl or boy out on a date to getting married the next day and having 7 kids. Sure. It's a relationship. Sure. It's a business transaction. Let's all be fair. Right. Let's all be honest. Get to know each other both ways. And sometimes it doesn't work out, but you gave it your best.
That's right.
Wow. Heavy duty. And Joe, I think that's probably why this panel is so popular, because you are all communicating and talking about a topic that we have not really discussed ever in our car business. And, you're all about communication. And the fact, Marco, you're right. The whole thing is a relationship, right? And it takes a little time to build that relationship with anybody or anything, right?
Well, and it's complex, and it's like we kept hearing over and over again. It's still a people business, we've kind of awakened to the point that technicians aren't just grease monkeys here. These are intelligent, talented people that want to be treated as such and want to build some trust in a relationship. And it seems like we're moving to that point, or starting to accept that and treat it that way.
And Marco, did you say that there are instances in dealerships where a tech is not allowed to speak to other technicians?
Yes, absolutely. Wow. Absolutely. You're shun away from the shop. And to me and any other technician that knows what the heck they're doing, that is a red flag that say, see ya. Yeah. Wow. If you don't want to show me where I'm going to be working and who I'm going to be working with.
Joe, we learned so much on this panel. I got to tell you, wow.
Yes,
great
sir.
stuff. Let's, I tell you what, let's continue this conversation. Joe Lockard, great job as always. AutoMax,
Thank you.
Recruiting. Joe, how does our audience reach out to you? Because you do a lot of stuff in the fixed op space.
We do, yeah. I mean, it's got to the point. It's probably 60 to 70% of our overall recruiting is fixed ops related, and of course, technicians big part of that, but management and a lot of advisor recruiting as well. We do it all.
Wow. And how do they reach you, Joe?
Yeah, everyone's always welcome to just give me a ring on my cell phone if you want to talk. My cell phone 609-705-8646. Aside from that, you want to get a little more official, you can go to our website. It's AutoMaxRecruitingandTraining.com. I'm all over social media. We're all over social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, and otherwise. Just reach out. Like I said, questions, general chatting. I love talking about this stuff. This is fun.
AutoMax are the experts, everybody. So Tully Williams, thank you so much. You do so much for our industry. Mike Weldon, thank you so much. You and I have a great segment together on the show, so appreciate that. And Sean Kingery as well. So super stuff, Sean. Thank you for all you do. Marco, what can I say? You continue to lead the education process, Marco. So love it.
Well, like I told you, Ted, is like due to all of this roundtable, all the events, you have given people voices that would never have had the voices, myself included. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Marco. Thank you. Very kind words. Ann Lister, thank you so much. So continue to follow all the success you're having. And Robert Stage, great job today and on the mobile panel as well. So appreciate everybody
the
here.
opportunity.
Yeah, great stuff,
Thanks
Robert.
again.
Keep it up. Love it. Joe, thank you so much on behalf of the Fixed Ops community.
Thank you, Ted. Always a pleasure.
Joe Lockhart and the AutoMax panel here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.